Good day everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we're starting off with a little reface of a Peugeot /Ford /Citroen cylinder head here. You can see this is the third cut so far, and there's some real old deep grooves there where the gasket's sort of let into the face. Typical really. So what we might have to end up doing with this is cutting the valve seats so the valves protrude as they should be. Right, so finally, it's 20 to 10 and I've finally been left alone long enough to do this Cosworth head. So we've got all the guides in, as you can see. I've reamed the inlet guides, 7mm. They're all sliding in nicely. Now I'm just about to ream the exhausts. They're only just a little bit tight. So if we just try the valve in there now, that's absolutely perfect. So we go ahead, do the other 7. There we go, give them a blow up. Try a valve in. And that is absolutely perfect. You can feel very, very slight movement side by side, but that's what you want. You don't want it absolutely snug in these bronze guides because they can pick up. But that is cock on. So what I'm going to do now is cut all the seats, and then we'll vacuum them. If they vacuum fine, give the head a lick over, and this head is all ready to put back together. Just a quick one, guys, just so all of you know that I do read the comments. It's a little bit on the sort of processes that we use, the machining processes, and some of the incorrect ways that we do things here. It's like anything, when you do things day in, day out, not always the absolute correct processes are the quickest and easiest. There are other processes that work. It's a little bit like the guides I've just done on the Cosworth. I almost can read the comments now saying that we're using the reamer in a drill and we're using it's going sort of, the speed's too high. But at the end of the day, if it works, whatever does the job the quickest and the best is the best way, really, in my eyes. I mean, that reamer we've probably had for, I'd say I probably had that reamer for 15 years. So it certainly didn't go blunt, but what you find with those bronze guides, if you use a reamer slowly, it gnarls up and it takes forever. So we found the best way really is to use that reamer dry in those particular bronze guides. Just go nice and slow, almost holding it back and letting itself pull itself through the guide. But it's like, you know, a lot of the other processes we use in here, they may not be correct. I was an engineer before I started here, and yeah, I know sometimes there are correct ways of doing things and ways you shouldn't do things, but if it works, it works. At the end of the day, as long as it's safe, does the job correctly, and you get it done as fast as you can, it's all that matters, I suppose. So I'm just cutting the exhaust seats on this Cosworth head, and I know I've said to you before, we have the 3-face cutters, which basically cut all 3 faces in one. So you've got the 45-degree seat that the valve actually sits on, then you've got the 30-degree at the top of that and the 60 below it. But what I like to do with these Cosworths, because they're a fairly meaty seat, is I like to do the 60-degree first. So I leave out the 3-face cutter and I just do it bespoke. It takes, you know, it's another process, takes a bit longer, but just make sure that I get it right. So what I do is I put the 60-degree cutter down first to just get it right up to the edge, just get a nice clean cut. And then I do the 1.5 mil. See, on this one I've done it. I do the 1.5 mil 45-degree cut after it. And that just, because you're cutting a thinner seat rather than doing the 3 angles in one, it just makes sure that the seat is a lot more true. So as you can see, I've done this one. I'm going to do that one. What that usually, if I do it that way, you put the valves in and they vacuum straight in, so there's no lapping involved. So what can tend to happen with these 3-phase cutters, because you're cutting on such, if you're cutting all 3 angles at once, it's a real wide area, and the exhaust seats in these Cosworths are so tough. What you find happens is it can sort of, as it's going round, where it hits a wider, slightly wider part of the seat, it tends to push it off. And that's why you normally find, if you ever have one of these heads back that's been done, the valves will be lapped in because they're just not sort of perfect. It's just pushing the cutter off in an area. So that's why I do it like this. I do the 60-degree first, and then I've got a nice, perfectly true sort of angle to work the 45 down. And you normally find then, if I just slap the valves in and stick the vacuum tester on, so it goes straight into the green without me even holding the valves down. That's with no springs on, so no lapping required. As I say, anything in that green is perfect. So this thing's ready to go. So we've given the Cosy head a 3 thou lick over, and as you can see on the back edge, especially over here, you can see where it's been blowing very slightly. So although this one's pretty good for corrosion, it does need another lick over. We'll just give it another 3 thou, and all should be good with that. Fingers crossed. Right guys, so I don't know whether I mentioned this on one of my previous videos, but we've got a Jaguar XKR in at the moment. It's a car that we've subbed out to Stuart and Pete over at Alfa Ragazzi. They're doing the donkey work, if you like. It was in for suspected head gasket on one side. Apparently the vehicle had been to Jaguar, but I don't know whether they were very helpful or not. But anyway, the guy's got in touch with us, and he wanted us to sort the head gasket issue out. So we subbed out the work to Stuart. We were going to do the head when it was off. Once the car arrived here, then we sort of had a chat, and he said, look, it's crazy really with the amount of work there is, because this thing is supercharged, the amount of work it is to sort of strip down enough to get one head off. You may as well do the pair. So that's what we've decided to do. Anyway, Pete has just got the cylinder heads off and he's brought them over, and what a job that is. It is supercharger off, it's all the front covers off, it's absolute major strip down. You basically, all you've got left under the bonnet now is a sort of short engine with everything off it, bar undoing the bell housing bolts. The motor would just lift out, and it's almost a bare short engine. So basically I've got the heads over here, and I'll just quickly show you them. The reason I've got them standing on their end here at the moment is because they've got buckets still in the back, and they're not hydraulic, they're shimmed, so we don't want to mix those up at the moment. So here we go, we've got the left hand and the right hand head. The problem is down on the left hand bank, you see around this area here, that is where the gasket is blowing. You can see the valves there are a different colour than the rest anyway. And on the right hand side, although there didn't appear to be any sort of gasket issue, I do think it is maybe a very slight bit here, maybe here, but the valves do look a different colour anyway. But the alarming thing was because these valves are a different colour and there was no real apparent sign of the gasket going on this side. I've been over and had a look at the car, and it doesn't look great. On the right hand bank, the first two pistons, it looks to me a little bit like it's started to pick up. Right at the very top there looks a little bit of it looks like a deposit of aluminium. Not too sure. The second potting, it started to pick up. There's a few sort of lines down one side of the bore, so I've had to have a word with the customer, and I said, listen, I suppose fortunately you're at the position where we've completely stripped this thing to the point where whether you go for a short engine or we get it out and do something with this. Fortunately, it's a 4.2. His supercharger's knackered, that needs doing, the bearings are shot. You can see marks where there's been deposits of maybe the blades or something coming through the engine. So whether that's anything to do with those two pistons picking up slightly. But yeah, being a 4.2, it has got cast iron bores. So I've got one of our suppliers going away now and seeing what parts are available. If they do oversized pistons and they're boreable, we can maybe do something about it. If not, his only other options there would be to start putting liners in it and get some new pistons, you know, and going for a recon, or trying to get a short engine. Whether that be genuine, I don't know yet. But I said to him, we're certainly not going to be putting the cylinder heads back on with it like that. So we've got to do something. But we'll pop over there now and I'll just show you what I mean. So here's the Jag engine. As you can see, these are the two bores I'm talking about. So here you've got some what looks like deposits of aluminium on there. There is a couple of scores there, but can't actually feel anything, but it certainly looks like the piston's starting to melt on the side. And that over there is where the gasket's blowing on that side. So yeah, just gonna have a chat with the customer, see what's available, and go from there. So our supplier's been back to us regarding the bits for the Jag. The bits they can get, surprisingly, are not too expensive. They can get hold of pistons at standard only, mind. The only thing is, I did feel the bore, and although those lines are running down the bore, you can't actually feel anything. So I spoke to the customer and I said, look, we can get bits. They're not that expensive, to be fair. The bits I can get are shells. They're graded shells individually for the crank. You can get a full set of gaskets, a full set of pistons and rings, genuine, at standard. If that bore cleans up, then I'm gonna have to have a word with Stuart. You know, we can basically recon the short engine for him, bar reboring it. He did say that the thing didn't use any oil. So how long those bores have been like that, I don't know. But if they clean up, you know, if we can get the aluminium off, and Stuart's willing to put the thing back in the car and put the heads on himself, and we supply the bits, then, you know, that's another option for him. So I'm going to get some prices together, email them over to him, and go from there, really. I mean, apart from that, these only other two options are a second-hand engine, which I wouldn't recommend, and also, you know, a new complete unit from Jag if you can get one. But I hate to think what that's going to be. In something like that, I wouldn't say it'd warrant doing it. So definitely his cheapest and sort of better option, if he wants to keep the car, is to go with, you know, maybe us sorting out the short motor, put some new bits in there, and Stuart putting it back in with new, you know, putting the heads on and that with new timing chain, etc. But I did say to him he's going to need the supercharger doing, which I've had a look online, and they don't seem to be very expensive to recon them. They're a fairly simple charger. So at this stage, I'm just going to get some prices together on an email and get that over to him and see where it leads. But yeah, as far as doing the head gaskets and just the head gaskets, then that is not to be. Certainly not doing that. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. Next video will be Friday now. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in another one. Cheers.